I'm Rodney Alsop, and I'm the founder of the MBA News Digest and your host for today's webinar. I am joined by Ashley Simpowski. She's the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Outreach for the School of Professional and Continuing Studies, Springfield College. Welcome, Ashley, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us today about chatbots.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, let me get rid of just a few housekeeping things here before we get started. I created this webinar podcast series so that we could drill down on topics that are of interest to graduate program managers, faculty, and staff from around the world. Now, today, we will have a somewhat structured conversation with our guest, and at the same time, you'll be able to ask questions via the chat function. Now, if you're on a laptop or a desktop, you will see a chat button when you put your mouse pointer at the bottom. If you're on a mobile device, then if you'll go to the top of the screen, you'll see a chat button. Now, feel free to ask questions anytime you want, and when you ask a question, everyone should be able to see that you ask the question and see what the question is. And now, just a little warning here. I am a one-person show operation here. I'll be doing the interviewing, the advancing the slides, and the monitoring the chat Q&A. So it may take me a few minutes to see your question. Should I miss it, we'll do a review of all of the questions at the end of the session, and we'll answer any that I missed. Now, let me take a minute here, and okay. I had to mute someone, but we're okay. The webinar recording will be posted via YouTube, and the podcast audio will be posted and available on iTunes. Now, both will be available as a post on the MBA News Digest website. That'll be at www.mbanewsdigest.com. You'll receive an email letting you know when they are available. Now, one final point. All of you are supposed to be muted with the exception of Ashley and me. So if you inadvertently click a button and you start making noises, I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. So just a little warning there. Now, let me share just a few things about the MBA News Digest. First of all, subscriptions to the email updates are free. If you're not a subscriber, then please subscribe. If you are a subscriber, then please do me a favor and refer a colleague. One of the reasons that I'm looking for subscribers is a large subscriber base helps me attract sponsors. The sponsors, in turn, help me provide the free services I provide. Now, on Thursday mornings, I publish a program management article that is free. So let me know if you want to write an article. They're about 500 words in length is what I target them for. The webinars and the podcast suggest a topic or suggest a guest. I'm always looking for things that we can generate interest around and publicize and help our program managers move their programs to the next level. Now, I'm also available for consulting and speaking engagements, and if you want to contact me about any of the things that I've covered, my email is rgalsop@mbanewsdigest.com. Now, speaking of sponsors, let me acknowledge that support for today's program comes from International Study Programs. They are in the business of helping B schools change student lives through international travel and education. Now, when visiting their website the other day, I discovered a new word, ungoogleable. Now, that's That's a challenge to say. I can't imagine a better word to describe what they do. They provide ungoogleable experiences for your students. Now, when I was a program manager, I worked with ISP, and they did a great job for us. So why don't you take a few minutes and learn a little more about ISP and visit them at www.studyprograms.com. Now, our learning objectives for this session are fairly simple and I think somewhat straightforward. What Ashley and I want you to learn is a little bit about chatbots and how to use them as a recruiting tool. Chatbot selection and implementation, and a little bit of the pluses and minuses of using chatbots. Now, if you have other interest as we're going through this and we're not tackling those things, go ahead and send us a message and ask us a question. Now, let me introduce you to Ashley. And when I say this, Ashley has been working with me for a week or so in developing this webinar. And what I want you to see is the web page that you first see the chatbot on. Now, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but here's Ashley. Here's her title. Here's what she does. And more importantly, right here on this web page, she's inviting visitors to have a conversation with her. I think that's extremely important. She also is providing ways to be contacted, phone and email. Now, this is what each visitor sees when they come to this page, an invitation to connect and to engage with a human being. Now, this is the web page where the chatbot first appears. When I took the screenshot, now Ashley was offline. Now, we'll talk about the configurations with additional screenshots here in a few minutes. But this shows how the chatbot appears when she is offline. Now, Ashley, was this page design part of the chatbot implementation, or was the chatbot added to this page as it already existed?
Yes, so the page was already present. I'll talk a little bit more later about the different campuses that we have, but each campus page has this interface with the assistant director for recruitment and outreach at that particular campus. It has their face, their information, their contact, phone number, email. We just simply added the chatbot feature to the bottom of the page.
Okay, so you all were already receptive to the idea of inviting people to connect with you and learn more about your program.
Correct.
Okay. Now, before we go get too far along, let me have Ashley introduce Springfield College. Go ahead, Ashley, and share some information about it.
Sure. So we are a division of Springfield College in Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, you've probably heard of Springfield, their traditional and graduate side of things. We are their division of the School of Professional and Continuing Studies. We have several branch campuses. Our main campus is in Springfield, Massachusetts. My campus is in Wilmington, Delaware, but our other regional campuses include Houston, Milwaukee, St. Johnsbury, Vermont, and Tampa, Florida. So we consider ourselves to be an adult degree and continuing education program for the working adult. Our school, the School of Professional and Continuing Studies, or PCS as we call it, provides broadly accessible and in-demand degrees for those interested or passionate about human services and transforming their communities. Our bachelor offerings include, it's a Bachelor of Science in Human Services with optional concentrations in criminal justice, early childhood education, community youth development, and addiction studies, which we're now calling substance use disorder counseling. And in addition to that, we have master's programs in mental health counseling and a one-year MBA program. Now, Our MBA program has been around for about 4 years, but we just started it in the Wilmington campus this past May. We've graduated 56 students total from the program over the last 4 years amongst our branch campuses, but we currently have 59 enrolled in the 4 campuses that are offering the MBA, which is great. So we are growing in that area. We will be shifting to a fully online MBA option beginning in January, which is really exciting for our, nearly 5,000 students that we attract, and half of which that are full-time, even though they have families and other responsibilities. The nature of our blended hybrid format program really allows them to be able to fit in their education with in their life, I should say.
Okay. That's great. Now, let me ask you a question. When I was visiting the website, the regional campuses, yours is the only campus that has the chatbot. Are you the pilot for the chatbot, or do the others, are there plans to add this to the others?
I am always the guinea pig, it seems. I was the first to be asked to start this program. The idea came from main campus and came from their IT office, and I was the name recommended to pilot this program. So yes, we are currently only offering it at the Wilmington campus, but we hope to expand to all campuses and maybe even implement it at the traditional side of the campus operations, but we don't have a set timeline for that yet.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Now, when you are offline, visitors can still leave a message. So the form provides space for name, email, phone, and the message itself. Now, can this form be modified?
Yes, all of the fields can be edited, added, removed, changed around in any order.
Okay. So now, how long have you been using the chatbot?
We started in the very beginning of March, so it's only been a few months.
Okay. So what triggered you all to look for a chatbot or to start using a chatbot?
Well, our main campus leadership wanted to improve, just our customer service and our customer relations, and look into new technologies and opportunities to improve the overall student experience.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure how to ask this question, but what are you trying to do with the chatbot? I mean, what is its value add from your standpoint as of right now, having only worked with it since March?
Sure. So our primary goal is just to improve our student experience and give them a better experience in general from the moment of their first inquiry through their matriculation and even beyond. We also want to give our students another way to interact and have their questions answered. I mean, more and more students are uncomfortable with picking up the phone, or they're too busy, and websites can be confusing. They're trying to figure out what program they want to do. So giving them this anonymous, relatively anonymous, I should say, if they provide their names, this anonymous resource to get their questions answered without needing to come into campus, really just it goes hand in hand with the flexibility and that student experience we're looking to improve.
Okay. Now, how much time are you spending online doing two things? How much are you available online for someone to chat with you? And then about how much time are you spending actually chatting with someone?
Sure. So we have it set to be online typically from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But I also have an app on my phone that allows me to be online later when I'm home in the evenings in case anybody pops in at night and has a question. And most of the time we just have it up and running in the background of our computer. So, we're continuing to send emails, do other things that we have to do. And then we get a notification when a student comes on, or a prospective student, I should say, comes on to the website. And I would say typical chatting time, it can range between 2 to 20 minutes, depending on what kind of questions they're asking and if they choose to continue the conversation and ask more questions.
Okay. Now, is there anyone else sharing chatbot responsibilities with you?
Yes, currently it's just a two-person operation, just myself and our admissions assistant here, Colin Loeffler, and he and I work in the same office. We're right down the hall from one another, and we're also the two-person admissions team here at our campus. So
Okay.
we go pretty much hand in hand. Where he's taking some of the conversations, I'm taking others, and we're both really excited to have this opportunity.
Okay. All right. So now let me take you to another slide here, and this is what it looks like when you're online without a chat, an active chat. So now, when I added the chatbot to the News Digest website a few weeks ago, I noticed that there are several options for this message. Have you experimented with different messages?
We have not experimented yet, but we do plan to tweak the messaging to see if it increases more chats or brings more chats to our platform.
Okay. Now, this is one of the standard options that they give you. Now, have you considered creating your own message and uploading it and creating a JPEG to plug in here?
We have actually, because even though you see chatbots, more and more on a variety of different sites, there's still that perception that you're not really talking to a real person. So we're trying to make the students understand that not only are you talking to a person, you're talking to an employee and a professional at Springfield College, not someone that was contracted out to answer the questions for you, not a robot, pulling from a database. So we've considered messaging regarding chat with an actual Springfield College employee now or something along those lines.
Okay. Now, let me move on to where there is the potential for an active chat. Someone has clicked it open, and all they need to do is insert their information here. So this really looks pretty much like any other chat window on your phone or any other application. Is it possible to modify this message inviting someone to chat to you?
Yes, everything is fully customizable, even down to color.
Okay. Now, are chats saved?
Yes. So on our dashboard, which I know we'll look at a little bit more, in a minute, we can save all of the chats. We keep them for as long as we need. We can look at them, reflect back on them later. People can leave their email addresses. So if there's a question, or if we miss an offline message, we can essentially convert that chat to what's called a ticket, which allows us to actively work on contacting that student, getting the questions answered, and then closing out that ticket once they are satisfied. So we can keep chats for as long as needed until everything's resolved.
Wow. This could keep you quite busy, but about how many live chats engaging with another person do you do on a monthly basis?
So I was just looking over the data for that a little bit this morning, and I'm still impressed for something that we've only been doing for a few months, something that not a lot of people know about. We're working to get the word out about this. We are still getting about 8 to 10 live chats per month. A lot more visitors, many more visitors, but oftentimes they don't ask a question. But just having that option available to them, really shows the openness and the willingness to help that that we're striving for here.
Well, this one may be a little premature to ask, but are the visitors that initiate a chat first timers, or are they return people that want to follow up with a conversation?
It's actually a good mix of both. We get a lot of first-time users, and then in looking at the dashboard right now, I'm actually seeing 50% of our visitors are return visitors. So it is
Okay.
a good healthy mix.
Yeah, wow, that is really good. Now, what are your plans to promote the use of the chatbot?
Yeah, currently we're not doing much since we are still piloting this and it's in this infancy stages. But Colin and I do notify our students of its presence and its usefulness if they desire to check it out.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the dashboard, so let's go ahead and take a look at your dashboard. Now, uh, you sent me this screenshot a week or so ago, and I lost it, and then I found it this morning. So this is your screenshot. So I'll let you describe it and give us some insight as to what it will tell us.
Sure. So on the top right, it will show the number of visitors that you have had today. So it looks like we are at 14. And yes, visitors today and specific chat visits. So it looks like of those 14 visitors that have come to a page, 14 of them have actually opened and interacted with that chat feature. Whether or not they sent a message, they at least opened the window. I do have 0 chats here today, but those are the three pieces in the top right. But other than that, this dashboard shows it's a live representation of the number of visitors on the page, any of the pages actually that we have this on at any given time. So I think your screenshot, the one that I sent you, it shows the graph as having 1 visitor, which was you at the time that I sent you this screenshot.
Right.
But currently it shows that we have 5 on the dashboard that I'm looking at right now. And so, other than that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, so this really is giving you a live view of what's actually happening on your website.
Yes, it is live, which I love. I was not anticipating that at all. Even the graphs there in the middle show, your daily average visitors versus the last 24 hours, daily number of visits, page views, and then all the buttons on the side show live reporting and messaging. So I can see what page a visitor is on at any given time, their IP address, their relative location, and any other information they choose to provide, like their name or email address. And then all of the messages as they come through pop up in a separate window. And that's where I can actively engage in conversation with someone.
Okay. Now, the dashboard is also where you make modifications to the look and feel. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Because this is running out of main campus, I do not have full admin access, but I can change the look, I can change colors, sound, notifications, how long until it marks me as idle on the page and things like that.
Okay. Let us move on to talk about this specific application that you're using. Now, you're using tawk.to. Now, before we do much more of anything here, let me run through this disclaimer. Ashley, you and I do not have any financial interest in tawk.to, and we're not endorsing them. We're just saying this is what you're using and this is what I'm using. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. Just a couple of points to make here. It is free. And now, Ashley, you had your campus IT people set it up and hand it off to you. I set mine up myself. Now, on the tawk.to webpage, homepage, they say you can set this up in 1 minute. That's a little bit of a stretch, I think. It took me probably 5 to 10 minutes to get it set up. But then what I ended up doing was playing with it a lot. And I wasted probably another hour and a half of trying to modify things and test things and so forth. So, any case, do you agree with everything that's listed here?
Yes, definitely. I almost wish that I was present for the initial setup so I could have seen that and been part of that to really, I can't really advocate or speak to the 1 minute setup, but it does, from what they say and from my experience using it, it is pretty user friendly and simple.
Okay. I haven't paid any attention. The branding is still on your site, right?
Yes,
The
it is.
tawk.to, okay. And it's not very noticeable, so I'm not concerned about that on my site. Have you thought about hiring agents? They offer an agent to keep your chat live as much as you want. I can't believe $1 per hour.
Mm-hmm. We actually have not talked about that just yet. The goal is to first expand to all of the campuses and have campus admissions teams operate their specific pages, talk chat features. And then the eventual goal is to possibly build a database of answers so it can, smart reply. But I'm not 100% sold on that because it kind of takes away from this, high touch customer service, goal that we're aiming for. So I like the fact that we are real live people talking to other real live people. And I know that the prospective students using this feature also appreciate that.
I agree with you. I think that is the appeal of this simple application that you're using. Now, what other chatbots were considered, or are you aware of what others were considered?
I'm actually unsure. I was only approached with Talk. I guess when I was looped into the process, they had already made that executive decision.
Okay, so the decision came to you, and here's what you're going to use. So it's fine. I understand that happens on a lot of campuses. Now, how much training was required for you?
Well, Colin and I are pretty tech savvy, which is why we're asked to guinea pig a lot of these efforts. But it typically, well, mine was separate from Colin, but I think it was only about an hour-long Zoom session with our friend over in the IT office. He had us on the phone, had us on Zoom, shared his screen, showed us what we were doing, and then had us pilot a sample chat. So he logged on and sent us a message so we could get a feel of what it looked like and how it worked.
Okay, how much, now that you've been using it a little bit, how much has it changed how you do your work?
Well, I think the biggest thing, it definitely just saves time. The students can get their answers quickly. We're expected to respond to them quickly and accurately. There's no need for the students to click around on a website to find their answers. It just really helps us to be more quick and efficient with our responses. And I think that the biggest selling point for me is just that the quality interaction and the high touch admissions, which is kind of our MO here. We really love it when a student is happy and engaged, because when they're happy and engaged, they're more likely to apply and attend, matriculate, and that just means that we've succeeded in helping them get to that place and be comfortable.
Okay. Have you integrated this chatbot with your CRM, or are there plans to?
Not at this moment. We do plan to eventually. We are kind of in a CRM limbo right now, changing over from in one platform to another. So hopefully we can build on that implementation and integration later.
Oh, I bet you're having fun.
Definitely. It's definitely not all.
Okay. Now, while there are many chatbot applications available with varying degrees of complexity, here's a few things that you and I put together, I think, to wrap this all up. The first one strikes me. I was one of the principal investigators of a research project for AACSB and the EMBA Council and Unicon a few months ago. And one of the things was engagement of the digital generation. I think this is a tool that is just right for use in engaging this digital generation. Would you care to comment?
Definitely. I think this new digital generation really likes their information quickly and accurately. And in the short time that we've been doing this, we've really noticed the paradigm shift from calling and meeting with students, which we still love to do and we still encourage, to the new student desire for texting, chatting, Zoom interactions, Zoom meetings, especially in the early admissions process. It's really fascinating. I wish we would have made some of these changes sooner.
Okay. I think what shocks me about this application is it's free. I mean, you get everything that we've talked about today is free. And that makes it, for me, very low risk. And so anyone that's thinking about doing this, I would suggest that this is the platform that you may want to experiment with, just because it is free and it's very easy to implement. Ashley, let me ask you about lessons learned. If you were starting over, you've already mentioned a couple of things about being involved when the IT people set this up. What are some of the other things that you would suggest if we were starting over today?
Sure. I think I definitely would like to have heard more insight from other campuses, other schools that have used this sort of feature. I see it in businesses all the time. I mean, you go to pay we pay our internet bill and we see a chat feature, and that's all well and good, but I would like to know how it compares to, or what the experience is for other educational institutions. And I just don't think that's something that we looked into too much before making the decision. I think we landed on a good program, or at least a good starter program. And yeah, I just really would have liked to have been part of that early implementation and learned a little bit more about the challenges and the advantages that this sort of program has had in the higher ed environment.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I really had to search to find a chatbot user. I visit a lot of websites, and the number of websites that I encounter in higher education that are using chatbots are pretty rare. So you're on the cutting edge of this stuff. And I applaud you all for tackling it. I think it's great. Any other comments you would like to add?
No, I think that about covers it. I am surprised actually to hear that we are on the cutting edge of this. I had no idea. I'm excited to hear that. Especially because we're working to grow our brand, to grow our name, get the recognition out there. We're known in Massachusetts, but not so much down here in Delaware and where other campuses are located. So to have an opportunity to be the start of a program like this in the early stages, and then be able to work on expanding that it's really great.
Good. Now I have a question from Kimberly. She said you've mentioned that the tool has the ability to save chats, and she's curious, when someone puts their contact information in, is that information saved somewhere so that it can be accessed and continue that conversation with that person?
Yes. If you actually don't mind, could you go back to the slide with the dashboard?
I can do that. Here we go.
Okay, and then on the left-hand side, one of those buttons, one in the middle that looks like a mail inbox of sorts, that is the messaging button, and that's where all of the chats get saved.
Okay.
And this is where I can go into chats as early on as, you know, our sample chat in early March, and I can see all of that information that they have provided. I will not be able to see their name or email address or anything unless they put that in. So if I miss a chat and they did not put that information, and then I cannot follow up with them, unfortunately, as I only know their location and an IP address. But as long as they put that contact information in, it's saved, and I can go back later and continue conversations with that perspective. Yes.
Okay. Kimberly, one other point that I would make, if this interfaces through an API to a CRM, then it absolutely will capture that information and make it available for you. So that's another option there as well. I have a more technical question, but I think Kristen answered it for me. But let me do just a little bit of a technical discussion here. When you go to their website, tawk.to's website, you'll discover that, number one, for WordPress sites, they've got an app that you can download, and it just automatically interfaces, and it's pretty much set up. What I had to do was to go into this dashboard and fill in the blanks on a form and save it, and it created HTML code that I then pasted into my website. And so I think if you have access and can paste HTML code into your website, it'll work with any website. It looks like on their website that they're trying to expand things to grow this for other platforms to where it's much easier to interface and it doesn't require HTML. But I think I would just recommend that you follow that up. Now, let me go back to where we were on the screen. Anything else you want to add, Ashley?
No, I think we've about covered it.
Okay. Let me talk about the next webinar as we start wrapping up here. Eastern Kentucky University just finished a major MBA curriculum revision. On July the 24th at 2 p.m., we'll be doing this again, discussing what prompted them to do it, how it worked, and how they managed the process. So join me for that webinar in July. And a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, thank you all for attending. But most importantly, I want to thank Ashley for sharing her knowledge and her time today. I really appreciate it, Ashley. You've done a great job, and thanks.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Thank you for reaching out and for giving us this opportunity. I really hope to see more institutions adding this feature. I think it's amazing and really helpful for the student experience.
I agree. Now, all of you will be receiving an email asking you to complete a brief survey, and if I've done this right, it will happen at 2:01, about 1 minute after 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You'll receive that email. You'll receive an email letting you know when the YouTube recording, and I see I misspelled recording, golly, it is available, and when the audio podcast is available. I hope you all have a great day, and as always, you can email me at rgalsop@mbanewsdigest.com.